In January, I have been invited to attend XDC HD. This is the next event in the XDC series that takes place in Las Vegas. I have been invited to come out in early January to compete in the race, and that race, as its name would suggest, is an HD only race. That means that the quads that we are flying are going to be using the Connex Prosight. Now, I've had a Connex Prosight for actually like 3 months now. I got mine shortly after Drone Nationals, and I have not talked much about it because, one, I didn't think that the performance was up to the point where I really wanted to be sharing it, and two, my DVR didn't work very well. And another thing that I just didn't invest enough time in was that the rigs that I was flying on the Prosight were crap. Like, I didn't invest time in tuning them. I didn't really put very good electronics in them. But so as soon as I was announced to be going to this event, I kind of decided to kick myself into gear, and in the spirit of my way of preparing for a race, of knowing myself and knowing my rigs and understanding the characteristics of the components that I'm flying with. Actually, I took apart one of my race Kratoses, I don't know if that's a word, and put it together into a full rig, something that flies well before it has the Prosight. And so now I can take all of the electronics out of the factor and look at just the Prosight itself and figure out what I really think. So as a quick fix, I created this thing which is lovingly called the Kratos HD. This is a very early prototype that has not yet really actually had many iterations on it. But this is going to be a rough idea of where we're going to try to go with this frame. But yeah, you get the rough idea where the Prosight VTX is mounted up on top. Now, because the standoff placement on these is skinny here and then somewhat wider here, but still not wide enough to fit the Prosight between it, I'm actually only using 3 screws, and the whole Prosight is like offset for now. So it's kind of the ugliest thing in the world. And it just looks real silly with the 2 top plates like that. But it works pretty well. I mean, it gets the job done and it flies well. And this was one of the ones that I took to Worlds, and so it's tuned well, race ready. I'm happy with the way it flies, but it's definitely a little bit ugly. So, once we get to the next version, when we can figure out how to replace these standoffs, we can slam the whole thing a little bit more so that this isn't quite as tall, and then we'll kind of cut off the top plate bits, the extra bits, to make it fit a little bit better. But yeah, so this is the Kratos HD. While we're at it, might as well go over my Prosight ground station. First of all, the tripod. This is a Dolica something 600, I think. It's a nice little tripod. I use it for all of my filming and stuff, but it also makes a nice ground station tripod because it packs down real light and small. Now, this is the actual Prosight VRX. It's a good sized little box. Like, for comparison, this is a Thunder Power Adrenaline just in terms of size. And this thing will run off of 3-cell or 4-cell, and it comes with a little barrel plug that they provide you in the packaging. So then the Prosight itself has a HDMI out, and that will go either to your goggles or to what I have here, which is an HDMI 1080p recorder. So when the quad when I'm powered on and everything is connected, I can just stick this is a 64 gigabyte USB drive, put it in there, and when I'm ready to take off and fly, sorry, I just hit the record button. I got this thing on eBay for like $50 or something like that. Then over on this side, it's kind of a little bit of a mess, unfortunately. But that's kind of the nature of HDMI cables. They're really thick, heavy cables that you can't really cut very easily and stuff like that. So I've just kind of wrapped them as best I can. What I have here is one HDMI cable, a pretty long one, that goes from the VRX into the HDMI recorder, and then I have a long one that I bought on Amazon that runs from the VRX out to the goggles. Then back up here, and oh, by the way, everything here is held together with dual lock. So everything mounts together really well with this, and it all just stays in place. Like literally everything is just attached to the VRX with a piece of dual lock. Now, up here you have a little bit of an interesting contraption. This is a power distribution board and a voltage indicator. So when this thing is powered on, it shows me what the voltage of the current of the battery is. And then there's a speed controller here, actually. And basically the issue with the HDMI recorder is that it came with a 5-volt, 2-amp wall wart that ran off of AC, and I didn't want to be using AC on my ground station. So essentially I'm using the BEC of this ESC, which has a 2-amp output, and that runs into the HDMI recorder. So plugging that one thing in turns on the HDMI recorder, and it turns on the Prosight all in one plug, and then as soon as I'm ready to go, I just hit record and I'm off into the races. So yeah, it's a pretty sleek little setup. You know, this whole thing comes off of the ground station with relative ease. You know, I can just unscrew the quick release mount for the this is really hard to do one-handed, and the whole system just comes together. I mean, it's all with that dual lock. It's just sturdy. It's great. So that's my quick little Prosight overview for how I'm running it. Yeah, I'm super excited for XEC HD. I'm not totally sold on the Prosight yet as a replacement for analog, but I'm really enjoying experimenting with it and learning about it and getting good at it, so that when I need to do testing and when I need to help provide feedback, I have some experience and some learning as to what to do with it. So let's fly it around a little bit and see what we think.
Quiet. So while this is playing, I should go ahead and talk a little bit about the Prosight and kind of my thoughts on it. So truth be told, I've actually had this thing for a while. I picked it up shortly after Drone Nationals when I had the chance to meet the CEO of Omimon, which is the parent company that owns Connex, which owns the product Prosight. Now, at that time, the Prosight was limited to 2 modes, HQ and HP. HP being high performance and HQ being high quality. HP is the mode at that time that most people raced in, and it was basically slightly less resolution than analog video. So while there was limited breakup and good range, and you know, and you're still kind of getting that solid connection that doesn't interfere with the analog connections, and you can kind of get around a lot of the issues that you have with traditional FPV. You know, and it's still being a digital link, so you can still transport protocols and information across that link. It really left a lot to be desired, at least when flying with like Dominator V3s or something like that. So fast forward a couple months to now, they've released the HP Plus mode, which is the footage that you're watching, and that footage and that experience with the Prosight is a lot better. It makes it a lot more interesting. It makes it a lot more worth it. I'm still not sure that I would pay full price for a Prosight system at this point. But HP Plus is a huge step in the right direction. So, all that to say, I mean, the Prosight is awesome. It's fun. It obviously produces some cool results where you don't have multipathing issues, and you can get away with not really having issues with other pilots and stuff like that. Like, those kinds of things, big deals. I love that. And, you know, the ability to be able to transport information across the connection through a digital protocol. So, like, you can basically send digital telemetry across that connection as well as your video connection. And so, you know, you can send battery data, RSSI data, whatever. You know, once that starts to kind of continue to be developed, where the receiver and the transmitter are, like, actually talking back and forth to each other and creating more powerful, useful information, yeah, there's huge power in digital, but I'm still not sure it's ready for the mass consumer market. It's good, it's great, I love it. It's not something that I would recommend as a product that everybody go out and buy, like I would a Tyrannus or Dominators or something like that. So the question that I've decided I want to answer with this video is kind of, you know, what's the future of digital FPV? What is going to what is going to be a result of all of it? And I think the answer for that lies in not how it makes what we're doing better, but instead what it can continue to do for the FPV of the future. So if you think about flight performance and racing characteristics and things like that, I don't think it's there yet, right? I, as a racer, want to milk every single minute bit of flight performance out of my machine, and things that are heavy and that are slightly delayed and have weird breakups where I can't see, and other certain kind of patterns that I can't predict, make it very hard for me to justify it as a racer. But if you look at it from the side of the features that it provides, you can fly with many people, you can fly without interfering with other people. You have digital telemetry, like the numbers that you're seeing on the screen right now. These numbers are actually not put onto the OSD by the VTX. Instead, it's actual information that's being sent across the digital connection back to the ground station, which is deciding how you display it, right? So rather than taking all the information and putting it together on the OSD, like with an MWOSD or an ROSD, and then just sending that video feedback, it's actually sending that information to the receiver, which then sends it out back to the video that's being displayed to you. So there's a lot of really cool power that can happen there, where maybe eventually we're starting to figure out what place people are in, and you can see a list of who's in what place on the screen, and you could see a multi-view of all of the people around you. Maybe there's some other kind of I can't even think. I don't even know what the possibilities are for that, because it's such a new thing. So do I think that digital FPV is going to replace the racing scene really, really soon? Probably not. But do I, as somebody that believes in the future of FPV and FPV as the sport of the future, there is a ton that's going on with this that I cannot wait to see come to life. So, regardless of whether or not you think that digital FPV is something that's going to replace analog or, become something that's super powerful, know that they're solving some really interesting problems and creating opportunities that we would have never had the possibility for with analog FPV. So, in the end, the Prosight, it's pretty cool. It's awesome. It's an early version of something that I think will become very powerful down the road. And that's why I got one and why I wanted to get involved with the development process and to help provide feedback to the Amimon team, is because I think that there is huge potential and I want to help see that potential realized.